depends who you ask. The term can get you either a high five or a kick in the groin. Rat rods. Is that a badge of honor or a serious diss to some of the most serious car people on the planet? This episode of Rides isn't interested in labels. It simply wants to build and party with the hippest and greasiest pack of purists ever to go near a hot rod. These cats are the real deal, living the life, talking the talk, and walking nowhere. It's rat rods, if that's cool with them. This is Rides. Welcome to the scene. It's the scene where it's all happening. And it's all happening because of one thing.
Ooh, baby, it's hot rod. You ought to see her go. She's flying low. Yeah, things don't ever get too slow in her hot rod. Ooh, baby, it's hot rod. I must repeat, it's all complete. Yeah, that girl's got a real cute seat in her hot rod. Well, things would be just fine if she let me unwind. All I wanted was a little ride in David's hot rod.
This is a young group that's hip to old ways, knowing that a cool ride isn't always about shine, gloss, cash, or sometimes even being finished. If it moves, you drive it, making it better in the home garage with every spare buck and every other spare weekend. It's a movement that for some started as a vibe.
I've been in the scene even before the scene, you know. First time I was here was 30 cars. And I've talked to different rockabilly guys, and they said, well, this is as big as it's going to get. And I said, no, man. I said, I can feel it.
Bo was feeling something that was contagious, creating an automobile culture that melds car rebuilding with historic styles. The result? A lot of hot rods.
It's hot rod, got such a brain, she knows the shame. Yeah, always teasing, playing games with her hot rod.
Call it a movement, call it a scene. If it's this popular, organization will find a way in. They're car clubs, and they've been around. A few even existed long before the rest of the party caught fire. One of those pioneering groups hails from Southern California, and if these 7 guys can't guide us through the scene, nobody can.
We're the Choppers from Burbank. Been a car club for about 12 years probably. And good friends, best friends. They're all my best friends.
Best friends who are demons about building era-specific hot rods and customs, and having fun with them.
You work all year to get your car, to bring it here. It seems like here and Paso Robles are the two deals that get people off their ass to build their car to get it here. It's obviously become like a raging party that kind of doesn't die. You know, this town doesn't sleep. It's fueled by exhaust fumes and alcohol. We have fun, and, you know, there you go.
Fun is the key word here for these folks. Their cars are fun. Their clothes are fun. Their hair is fun. These people are dead serious about having fun. For the Choppers, a lot of the fun comes from practicing an art that stems from their love of both history and rebellion.
When we were growing up, hot rods were kind of about ZZ Top and Van Halen. We weren't really that. We were like punk rock. We're looking at old magazines, see guys at the dry lakes sleeping in their cars. Cars were dirty, you know, and that's what it was about. It wasn't about fancy, and there was that too, but cars didn't have to be perfect to be driven or to have fun with.
Clearly, clubs like the Choppers know that a fun car is one that is driven, but before we can drive it, we have to build it. That being the case, let's build a hot rod. So let's meet the guys who are gonna put it all together, the Burbank Choppers. This guy you already know. He's Hollywood set builder and certified car nut Vern Hammond. Hot rod purist Darren Wright also works in the movies as a prop master, and later he's going to have a lot to say about this whole craze. Graphic designer Aaron Kahan. It's an understatement to say that he's crazy about cars, and this cat has quite a history in the scene. The Fish is also known as animator John Fisher, a quiet guy who has been with the club since the grand old days when they were all riding skateboards. Graphic artist Sandy Wax. Guess what this guy does on his weekends? Professional car builder Lance Soliday. He's the newest member of the Burbank Choppers. And he knows a thing or two about chopping cars. And Keith Wiesner is a prolific animator and professional artist who mixes his passion for cars with his art. That's the gang, and as the big party winds down here in Las Vegas, the Choppers get ready to hit the road home to Burbank. That's where the club is going to build a very special hot rod. To get things rolling, they gather at Keith's art studio, a place that gives you a good feel of just who these guys are. They're here to discuss the broad strokes and the specifics of the upcoming build. Like all of their four-wheeled creations, this one is going to be personal. It will be a hot rod for Aaron, and the key piece of this project has been in his family for a long time.
I've had the bodies since I was 5, so it's 32 years I've had it. So over all the time, I've had many different ideas of how I wanted to build it, but now.
And you painted it when you were 5?
Yeah, I think my dad spray painted so it wouldn't rust away, and it was found behind the florist shop. And my grandpa found it and he got it for free, and then I've had it ever since. And it's just been, I played in it and started collecting parts when I was a little kid, and then got sidetracked on other projects. And through the years, there was many different ways I wanted to build it, but now I really want to do like late 50s style, maybe have it look like it was changed in the early 60s, updated with some mags and
when did
stuff
you
like that.
sort of figure out this?
This club builds era-specific or period-perfect cars. So when they say they want to build a late 50s style car, they're not talking about making a hot rod out of a 1959 Cadillac. They're more than likely talking about taking an early Ford and customizing it exactly the way they would have at that time. This concept is more than a requirement for being in the club. Here, it's an outright passion.
We have rules because we have respect for the history of it.
Sure.
We've had a lot of old guys come up to us who were around then. Wow, you can't believe you guys are doing this.
That respect for history guides every stroke of Wiesner's pen. Because when this club builds a ride, it's not just another hot rod. By the time this car is completed, it's not too much to say that it will be a member of the family.
Yeah, that's
All
crazy.
right.
Look at
Done
that
enough
thing.
for the preliminary sketch.
That makes me so freaking excited. I can't believe this is maybe becoming a reality after all this time. Looking at this body, it's nuts.
That turned out great.
I know, it's so bitchin'.
So, with the old body and a chassis available, the Burbank Choppers head over to Lance's shop. All working men with day jobs, the club members will use their spare time and weekends to make this happen. And this weekend, as the gang arrives in their favorite hot rod or custom, it's all about getting organized and getting started. Okay, here on weekend number 1. This Model T shell is in for the time of its very long life. You know, T, for tall, but not for long, because these guys don't call themselves the Burbank Choppers for nothing.
So when we start cutting this roof, the whole body is going to want to go, so we're going to throw in structure pieces temporarily to keep it from falling in. stock dash, right, fellas? Yeah. Stock dash. There weren't a lot of gauges going on, I guess, back in the day, so. And the radio's not. The sound system is not there.
That thing's pumping.
Yeah. And now is there a cigar lighter deal on this one or no? What is this thing?
It's like an interior light.
Okay.
A map light, I think.
They're going to build this 1927 Model T hot rod on top of a 1929 Model A frame.
Keith, what's the difference between the Model T frame and the A?
Well, the Model T frame it's a little narrower, and it's just everything's smaller, and it's a lot more flexible. All the early Ford frames are real flexible because they were designed to twist, like the whole car moved, like the flubber car. Anyway, and you know, to make it a hot rod, you're putting much heavier stuff in it, and you gotta box it all up so it doesn't twist like it used to.
Yeah, not to mention that Olds motor,
Yeah.
that overcarbureted Olds motor.
This is a $30 frame, so, you know,
Use what we got.
we can use what we got.
Now that the supports are in, the question isn't whether to chop or not. The only question is, how much?
We've done some sketching and photos, and we know the window right now is 18 inches. So from the sketches and photos we've fooled with, we know we need to take out at least 9 inches.
Yeah, maybe 10.
Maybe 10.
We're not shortening it.
With a lot of cutting to do on both frame and body alike, it's time for the next stage of prep work that will bring the choppers closer to chopping.
That line right there is going to touch that line right there.
Taking that much out.
That's what it looks kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, that's a lot of roof.
Great.
Yeah.
That's a lot of roof.
An old saying says measure twice, cut once. But when you're about to cut a 77-year-old classic like this, you'd better be measuring a whole lot of times.
I'm gonna be the first one to put a cut in this car since I've had it forever.
All right, give him the good.
I know, is this a trick blade? All right. Oh, yeah, look at that.
Blade? 10 inches.
No way, it's gone.
Okay, the choppers are fast, but not that fast. They're tack welding the T back together to get a clue of where they're going. So as the top and bottom are temporarily introduced, Darren goes to the back.
See, these are these tiny import tires from Toyota. No, actually, these are not.
For the rear wheels, it'll be white wall drag slicks on a pair of 15 by 10 American magnesium wheels. This is the combo that moved almost every drag car in the late 50s and early 60s.
Not made for the highway, but people run them. And yeah, you just want to stay out of the water. But, you know, once again, that's hot rod, I guess.
So, as the night grows darker, the choppers wind up one long and very productive day, continuing their mock-up so they can have a small peek into the future. And who can blame them? Aaron has been wanting to see this ride for years. And the rest of the choppers? Well, they're as excited as kids on December 24th, piecing together the big toy in order to see just what it might look like under the Christmas tree.
Tell me when.
Oh, look at that. Oh, man. Can we try it?
They're all here making the scene. Nostalgia hot rods, traditional hot rods, authentic customs. These are rides from a party that mixes the eras and comes up cool. Some of the gang here consider themselves to be proud rockabillys, those creatures that sport everything from 50s grease to 80s punk, with a lot of tattoos in between. There are many ways to build a hot rod. It all depends on what a guy is looking for. You can make your ride high, wide, sexy, tough, shiny, big, small, colorful, cool, chopped, old school, simple, tricked out, tricked over, long, short, topless, hoodless, and of course, low. And in some cases, real low. The vintage car club, known as the Burbank Choppers, already have a good start on low, having whacked off a whole 10 inches from the top of their new project, this hot rod from member Aaron Kahan. So with that major haircut out of the way, it's time to head south to work the bottom of this ride.
This is a Model A frame. We took a stock Model A frame, cut it right behind the firewall, kicked it up so the suspension would ride higher, which would lower the whole car.
This method of customization is called Z-ing the frame, and it's just one of many ways to get your car to sit low. It's something that's even easier to follow when it's served up in miniature.
This is a stock Model A frame, what it looks like. Basically straight rails, cross member in the rear. This should be a stock T-body. Sit on top of the frame like that. What we did and what we're going to do is kick up and Z the frame to lower the frame, raise the suspension, lowers it about 3 inches. And we're channeling, cutting out the floor of the body, which lowers it over the frame, which lowers it about another 3 or 4 inches, bringing the car down about 6 to 8 inches by doing that, but still having the same ride, the same travel, suspension.
Z-ing a frame isn't a job for first-timers. The entire weight of the body and the engine will ride on those cut and reworked rails.
Put gussets in here for strength, boxed it for strength, the Model A stock part. Used 2x3 steel tubing for the rest of the frame for strength.
Strength, an idea that falls in line with safety. Those are probably not the first 2 words that pop into your head when you glance at a car that looks like an accident just waiting to happen. But like anything, there's a right way and a wrong way to do something. And 6.5 decades of hot rodding have fueled both sides of the story.
This has been proven over the years to work fine. And you're going to get those people all the time that are going to tell you, oh, what if? Well, what if I get hit by lightning? You got to quit what-ifing at some point and get in the friggin' car and drive it.
With rides that supply this much history and this much eye candy, it's often easy to forget about just what is at the core of hot rodding. It's really quite simple. It's actually about driving your car. That's especially true for a club like the Choppers, leading us to one of the biggest misconceptions of this so-called rat rod scene. As cool as these rides are right now, a lot of them aren't done. Not just yet, anyway.
We were driving them in progress because they still are not finished to that degree. Not that we don't want to paint our cars, because we do. We like to finish our cars, and they might all be finished someday. But they have character the way they are too. There's no reason you can't drive them.
We're not saving it in the garage until it's totally finished to take it out. And so like my car, I envision it all totally painted. I don't envision it with primer on it the rest of its life. But it's been like that for over 15 years. It's had primer on it, so
Because we have to just do them a little at a time as our budget allows. It's not like we save up $100,000 and then build a car.
Yeah.
Chop a wishbone. Chop a wishbone. Looks like a giant wishbone. Similar to Thanksgiving, but bigger.
This is the pivot point of the old wishbone that we're not going to use because we don't have wishbones anymore. Now we got
Split wishbones.
split wishbones.
Hang around with guys like these 7 long enough, and you'll get not only a crash course on car building, you'll get a major history lesson.
It's a 48 Ford front spring. We're using it in the rear. When you use a real rear spring out of a real old car, you end up de-arching and taking leaves out and stuff to soften it up or lower it. So we figure, why can't you use a front spring?
This is a Model A axle, but it's been dropped. It's a more drop axle, and it's actually been, it usually would be just this part here would go straight across. So it's lowering the car like 4 inches by going up.
Heated and pulled.
It's been heated and pulled and a big weight dropped on it. There's all these little tricks to lower the car as much as you can.
They're putting in a 51 Olds motor, at least for now they are. It will churn under a Wyand Dragstar intake manifold made in the late 50s, along with half a dozen 97 Stromberg carburetors that came from the mid-30s. But in order to hook up to the transmission easily, they tracked down a 1950 Olds bell housing.
This is a 37 LaSalle transmission, which is Cadillac's lower budget car in the 30s. This is a 51 motor, but 50 Olds is the only year that had this bolt pattern. So anyway, without using any adapters, except for there'll be a pilot bushing or bearing adapter, like this all bolts together without doing much machine work.
Whoa! No, that's
Coming in hot.
Go back up. Go back up.
Finding all this good stuff isn't easy. It takes a lot of time, knowledge, and swap meets.
That was exactly what
Look at those.
If it's Southern California and it's a weekend, somewhere, somebody is selling something rusty. And guess who wants it? These guys.
Because it's been a long time.
But they don't always have to come here to score. Thanks to the friendly guy with no clue.
You'd find a car with this motor in it, and they'd go, oh man. They take it to the local hot rod shop. They would take it all out,
With the trans.
with the trans, the whole front end with these brakes, and go, build me, I want a hot rod. And they'd order all the stuff.
Chevy
and then,
350
then
fuel injection.
Our friends would call us and say, yeah, I just took out this motor with all these carbs. Do you want to come get it for, $200?
It's an eyesore in the back
It's
of
an
my
eyesore,
shop.
and the guy doesn't care. He doesn't even want it.
People out there, why would you want all this old junk? You should just call us. We'll give you a number, and you can mail it to us because you really do want to go with a more modern, Lexus motors and Toyota brakes. You want to go the distance so that we can utilize this old junk. We got space behind our house. We'll take it. Go slow.
So however all these parts got here, the important thing is that they're here. And more importantly, they're coming together in this small garage on the club's spare weekends in this little neighborhood in Burbank, California.
Although that won't be there.
It's a quaint neighborhood with no idea that a soon-to-be roaring hot rod is being built just over the hedges and picket fences. But while the neighbors are in the dark, there's one little guy who knows exactly what's going on here.
This is my son, Benjamin. He's 4.5, almost the same age as when I got this car. Ben, what kind of car is it, buddy? Yeah.
So after a month of weekends, the Burbank Choppers have taken this ride from playpen to almost ready to play. The vintage car club known as the Burbank Choppers are combing through history, creating an era-specific hot rod that started with a chopped and channeled 1927 Model T on top of a seriously modified Model A frame, all soon to be on the move thanks to a 250 horsepower Oldsmobile engine that's taking orders from a 1937 LaSalle transmission. It's all turning two 60s style slicked up mags in the back.
No. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay, there we go. And then the pins go on there. Got this side.
But you know the bolts?
These like-minded builders and these diverse parts are coming together to create one hell of a serious rat rod. But don't tell that to the Choppers. You know what? Scratch that. Go ahead, tell them. We dare you.
We don't accept the term rat rod because we consider our cars the way they were in the 40s, 50s. A car could be a rat rod, I guess. We could consider some junky car a rat rod, but the label rat rod is getting applied to any car. It's primered. It could be the nicest car. It's primered. You're going to get a guy say it's a rat rod.
Real car, real steel, real Magilla. But see, the guy with the fiberglass, kit car with paint on it, he's mightier than me because his car has paint. It's a crock. It's a friggin' crock. This is the real Magilla, man. This is Ford right here, you know? So, because you're driving a body that was made 4 months ago and you painted it red, you're the cool thing. That's not the way I'm seeing it, and I know a lot of dudes that aren't seeing it that way either.
The rat rod thing started around the time that Hot Rod Magazine did an article about our club, and Gray Baskerville wrote it, and he had picked up on the rat rod label from something he had done like a month before, and we told him, you know, we didn't really like that because that's not what we called it. We'd never heard that before, and we just considered our cars hot rods. And but he, you know, it was such a good catchphrase for him. He just went ahead and used it. I'm kind of getting used to it, like, oh, okay, rat rod, whatever, you know. But at first it was a little embarrassing and insulting, you know, because it just seemed kind of goofy, you know.
So that ratty old term isn't really part of the vocabulary here. In fact, with this club, there's only two choices when it comes to categorizing your ride. It's either a hot rod or a custom. Case closed.
A custom car is a to-do. It's a totally different beast than a hot rod. You know, I think a lot more aesthetics involved with a custom. As Robert Williams put it, you have a custom to get the chicks and you have a hot rod to get away from them.
And the Robert Williams quoted is the fine artist and hot rod icon who has influenced generations of counterculture rebels in both the gallery and the garage. He's here today with wife and fellow artist Suzanne to check out this project being built for their nephew Aaron. As a renowned and published artist, Robert's paintings aren't his only works that command attention. He also has a groundbreaking car that created a sensation.
In 1981-82, I was the very first person that had a primered hot rod that could predicate, that could declare, this is a finished car. People say, what color are you painting? I said, no, this thing's finished. Oh, no, it didn't. Yeah, this thing's finished. See? Well, I was real happy with that for a couple of decades, and then, you know, my nephew picked up a 32 5-window coupe, and he had primered spots on it. Then all these good friends here that used to ride Volkswagens and little mini trucks and stuff, they started finding old Ford bodies and whatnot, and they started building hot rods and running around in primer. Well, the thing got even beyond the Choppers Car Club and beyond Aaron. The thing started getting like not only big in Southern California, but Northern California, and then it got big on the East Coast. There was a club down here in Orange County called the Shifters. There was a famous outlaw car club that had primered cars, and it gained not only national status, it started lapping over into Sweden and Europe and in Japan, see? And I hate to be immodest, but I started with my damn 32 Ford Roadster.
As for the rat rod terminology, Williams might have it figured out.
That's a name that has fallen on it, and that's a name I'm unfortunately probably going to stay with it. If you want to declare this a rat rod, I guess you could. I guess they're selling little toys now of primered cars called rat rods, so I guess this is a rat rod. To me, this is a real American hot rod.
It will be once the crew puts it together. Continuing on as Vern, Sandy, Darren, and Lance introduce a set of modified ladder bars into the build.
We cut a piece of pie out of the top and bottom and bent them in so the rear end will be able to rock and roll with the body roll.
We made these brackets for those ladder bars. Made these spring perches.
The alignment of the rear end to the rest of the car is a real big deal, you know. When you go to take off, you don't want the thing driving sideways or something.
3, 4.
They have a steering box out of a '56 Ford truck, and guess what? It doesn't fit, but that's why it's cool.
Inherent to hot rodding, you gotta modify everything. Yeah, but it's good.
And when this modified 27T is finished, it'll be anything but mild or subtle.
When you think about, here's a car that was built in 1927 that off the showroom floor would do 40 miles an hour. This thing would coast at 40 miles an hour. When this thing is finished, this car will probably be capable of 140 miles an hour.
And Aaron will be controlling this 140 mile per hour anything but a rat rod hot rod with his hands on this era-specific boat wheel.
I actually got this pretty damn cheap, and it came with a bunch of boat accessories, and it was just listed funny on eBay, you know. So I think I paid like $35 for it. So.
But a steering wheel needs a car body around it. So as the chassis and the powertrain move along, Keith and Fish are hard at work trying to put the 27T back together.
I'm holding this upper door frame in place, even though I've cut it already, to show you how much narrower it is than the bottom of the door, because the door post gets thinner as it goes up, and it's come down 10 inches. So we're taking this and putting it out so that this flange where the glass rides and this inner surface are mated, and this curve on the outside and the outer part of the door flange are mated, and then we're just going to add a strip all the way around, and like we've already done on the other side.
A car that's made out of many, many old parts has a soul. It has a karma, see? It's like a Frankenstein. Everything has been ferreted off something else. It's been cannibalized off something else, and the guy that built it knows what it is. There's a lot of people get into this thing that do it very superficially, and they want all the new reproduction parts and whatnot, you know, and to me, I don't see those ghosts rising off of it, you know. I don't see it at those hot rod meets in the 40s and 50s, you know. I don't see that girlfriend having to drive it that hated every moment of being in it, you know. I don't see the policeman with his foot on the bumper writing tickets on that thing, see. There's a very, very romantic aspect to this thing.
Romance? Sure. Rebellion? Absolutely. Both cool aspects within the history of the hot rod. But none of that will apply to this hot rod until the Burbank Choppers get it out of the garage and onto the road. So we've met the gang. Now let's take a look at what they drive.
This is my 50 Ford full custom. It's early Barris style. It's representative of type of cars built late 40s, early 50s. Real sort of coach built looking, not overtly dramatic, like with flames and crazy aggressive looking things. Anything from that era I like it's kind of got just a deco mass to it. I also have the 29 Ford Roadster. It's like a post-war style hot rod that would have been built in the late 40s, that type of style of car. And I have a 63 Comet mild custom, but it got crunched, so it's waiting for its doom back there in my driveway.
I got my hot rod in '89, and then we had always talked about forming a car club. It's a 1932 Ford 5-window coupe. It was originally built in 1959 by a guy named Lon Berger. It's got like a 55 Buick motor with a 37 Buick Trans. And then it's got a Columbia 2-speed rear end, a 39 Ford rear end, which is overdrive. It's really great for on the highway. It means, you know, I could go, it's got a high and a low gear, basically.
I'm a member of the Choppers Car Club. I've been there since its inception. It's been about 12, maybe 13 years. I've got a 41 Ford here, a full custom car, as well as my 32 Ford hot rod. Numerous times I've had old-timers come up to me and they're sure they've seen this car, they know this car from back in the day. You know, they get in arguments about it. Oh, I know this is the car, I saw this car in 1962, 1958, whatever, 51. And, you know, you got to convince them, hey, I built it. You know, I built it, you know, this many years ago.
This is a 1956 Ford F100 pickup truck. Started with a car that was chopped, but not lowered. Everything else stock. Got it about 12 years ago. Bought it from Vern, actually. He started a project, didn't really finish it. I picked it up, knew exactly what I was gonna do, went to town. First thing I did was get a motor and trans in it, lowered it all around, about 7 inches in front, 7 inches in back. Put this Chrysler 300 grill headlights assembly in. It's got 56 Chevy truck bumpers cut to fit, notch in the back, made homemade taillights for the rear. It's got a 3-inch chop. It's all shaved, no door handles, no emblems. The grill assembly itself is a stock 60 Chrysler. It's the lower series model. It's not the 300, otherwise you would say Chrysler here in the grill. And the assembly I made by a piece of expanded and about $200 worth of drawer knobs from your local hardware store.
My car is a 40 Ford. I got it about 10 years ago. It's been chopped, fenders molded in, it's lowered obviously, Studebaker taillights, DeSoto bumpers. It's fully customized like a late 40s custom. Engine is a 283, 58 Chevy 283, 39 Ford transmission, and a 40 Ford rear end. Driven it to Las Vegas 6 times, Paso Robles, all over the place. This is my 1934 3-window. I built, chopped, flathead powered. It was an early style hot rod, late 40s, and crashed it, which was a bummer because it was like my dream car. And that's what I got the cut on my head for. It's hopefully healing. 1934 hot rod and a light pole hit each other, light pole wins. So that's what happened to this.
This is a 36 Ford, and it's been customized. It was stock when I got it, and it was chopped and was lowered in back, and it's kind of got the Westergaard style. Westergaard was a early customizer. He's like one of the pioneers pre-war. There's a lot of different parts on here from customizing. There's 41 Ford bumpers, and it's got a 40 LaSalle grill shell that's real long and tall, skinny. Gives it kind of a fierce look because it makes the front look a lot taller. And all this is filled. This was a 36 grill shell. It used to go all the way out here, but it's all molded in. And the horn dimples are smoothed out for aerodynamics. And these headlights usually stock, they're real high, but we sunk them in here really low, and these are 39 Buick headlight buckets. And makes it look even more menacing when you look at it. The lower the headlights, the more tall gives the impression.
It seems that everybody in the club was friends first, and then members. And I suppose that's why we all live in the same area. We're able to be really good friends and help each other out with our cars all the time. Call a guy up and have him help you push your car in or out of the garage late at night. It's no problem. This car I built in '95. It's a 30 Model A. I found a 1953 DeSoto Hemi. It's 276 cubic inches, and it's got a 4-speed in it. Chopped it about 5 inches, and take it out and drag race it and break it on a regular basis. This is the fastest car in the choppers right now. The T we're building is probably going to smoke it. This low weight, high compression, 6 carburetors. It's going to be really fast. Darren's car runs a close second to this car. When he changes his running gear and puts his quick change in, his car will probably be as fast as this or faster. Just I've spent a lot of time setting this one up to squeeze the most speed out of it that I can get.
Aaron Kahan's hot rod is coming together, thanks to the car club he belongs to, the Burbank Choppers. And as we're able to get yet another spare weekend with this team of retro builders and vintage car fiends, we see that there's been a slight change in the engine compartment.
This is our new Oldsmobile motor. The red block that was in here before
was a motor we were using to basically mock up everything.
So now that they have their real motor, it's time to put the thing together. This little baby is sporting an old-school roto-phase distributor. It's easily adjustable and came in handy when you needed some extra cash.
It was great in a racing application for guys because they could adjust it a little bit out of adjustment so the car was running crummy, and they talk someone into a street race, and they'd turn the corner and pop the hood and set it back to proper timing, and the car just wailed, and it's kind of a sneaky Pete, way to do it.
A handmade clutch pedal. You don't even get that on a $300,000 Bentley. Late 40s Ford brakes, so you can stop.
Front wheels that I'm running they're custom-made wheels. They're 4-inch wide, 15-inch wheels with a 16-inch Ford center. And I just did a quickie early 60s style fade paint job with different color yellow paints. And the tires are US Royal 560 15s that I got from Coker Tire.
This grill shell and radiator came off another old hot rod that didn't need them anymore. Handmade headers. Honestly, are there any other kind? Don't be fooled. While that tank might be new, it's also the exact one that's been made for decades. A model retaining the integrity of this era-specific build.
It's a spun aluminum gas tank, hot rod gas tank. Kind of based on the one Dean Moon made, well, he was famous for, making them in the 50s and 60s.
Moon Equipment Company.
Still make them.
To drive the car, even purists know some things have to be, God forbid, new.
The battery is a new battery from, I don't know where we got it. The tires are new tires. The gasoline is new gasoline. The oil is new oil. New brake fluid, and we're gonna have new air in the tires.
And now, it looks like we've caught them using new cardboard for their floor templates.
With some cardboard and whatnot, we're mocking up part of the floor we're going to build. Different sections so that we don't have a bunch of rocks and road, what do you call those dead animals? Roadkill flying up, into your lap.
So to redeem themselves for using all that new oil and new gas in the engine, here they are making the floorboards out of wood?
We're using wood for the floor because it was used by the car manufacturers back then.
And when it's hitting those speeds, don't expect the modern cooling system and the AC to kick in. Not on this car, they're not gonna.
You don't need heated seats in this hot rod, any hot rod, because the exhaust pipes a lot of times are under the car and ends up that the whole compartment gets hot from just the motor. Actually, the motor and the exhaust pipes, the whole...
Sweating.
Yeah, you're sweating bullets. The concept of a heater is it's pretty pointless.
It's not about comfort.
But it's not fresh air heat, it's like exhausty burning oil heat, but in a pleasant, soothing way.
Right, the wiring. Not as complex as a new Hummer.
I'm putting together the rear part of the harness right now. It's going to be real simple. Just tail light wires, brake light wires, and a fuel pump wire going to the rear. Super simple, like pretty much as simple as you can get. Only thing we need that's not on here is a horn. So that'll be added on. Right?
Oh yeah,
that's about it.
Right, horn.
Horn, yeah.
Aqua horn.
We'll have a horn, a boat horn.
The Burbank Choppers are now in the home stretch of the home stretch. Pretty soon, Aaron is going to have one incredibly vintage hot rod. And if there's anything to what his Uncle Robert was talking about, this is going to be an automobile that will have more hard-earned soul than anyone could ever have come close to imagining. Seven friends and a flathead 6. Looks like the Choppers are going to have one more ride to take to the show. Aaron's Model T, made era-specific as an early 60s hot rod. The kind of time machine that's built as though it was put together by a crew that had a shop by the parts yard and lived back in the day of the Everly Brothers and JFK.
He's not lined up on his phone. I'm not on mine. My uncle's always told me like the windshield height that the police used to say that there needed to be a dollar bill height to be legal. So I guess we're legal.
They're using taillights that rode on Buicks from 46 to 48. And up on the engine, it's handmade linkage to make 6 old carbs trigger like one.
It sure is menacing.
It's time for blast-off. Or at least it's time to see if the old engine will simply turn over. Whichever the case, the whole club is fired up.
Try it there.
Okay.
It's gonna start.
That's all you get.
Well, it started, and the best is yet to come, the driving. But before that, there's just a few more details to tend to. Some of them that will be coming together thanks to this guy. His name is Van, and he's a pinstriper.
Okay, we brought some decals from old Ed Big Daddy Roth decals for names and inspiration, and we all know Ed Big Daddy Roth is probably the single biggest influence on this car club being in existence. That's where we want to go.
And that's where you're going with this, right?
With 2 steady hands and an eye or two to match, Van applies his Von Dutch-inspired designs as though he was skating on ice, painting freehand and without guides, proving once again that you either have it or you don't. The result is something that more than speaks for itself. After the striping, it's on to the lettering, with that Ed Roth style put into the font. And it's not just Van who's leaving his mark. This ride is gonna tell of the Choppers from every angle.
Oh, you're gonna do the line.
I'd like to.
So this is the finishing touch, putting the club plaque on.
At this stage, your standard hot rod would now be off to the paint booth to spend the next few weeks in prep, spray, and color sanding. Then, off to the interior and electronics installers for thousands of dollars worth of suede and audio. But for bad news, it's off to the car show. At the Road Kings Car Show in Carson Park, bad news makes the news. Today, it's a wild mix of customs and classics here at the show, from the old to the not so old, from the vintage to the whatever you call this thing. If it's coolin' on wheels, it's here today at the Road Kings. So with that as our criteria, there's no doubt that this is the perfect place to unleash bad news. It took 7 guys 2 months of spare time to do it, but it's done. At least for now. It's family day here at Carson Park.
Future hot rodder right here. Future hot rodder.
Aaron's dad is on the scene to see what all the fuss is about.
Oh, it's beautiful, man. I love this. Aaron's had this car for a long time, and it's kind of a culmination of a dream for him. And, since I have a similar car, it's kind of a dream for me, too.
Aaron's mother and stepfather are here as well, knowing just how long this Model T has been in the family.
It's way cool. I remember, we have pictures of the whole family and all the kids as they grew up, standing next to it and playing in it. So it's really kind of special to me.
The spirit of this car is Aaron, is the Choppers. That's what they're about.
Grandpa has arrived, and he goes back further than anybody when it comes to this ride, because he's the one who found it behind a flower shop.
It's about 30-some years ago, and here I'm taking a look at it now. I can't see how to got this job done, but here it is put together.
There might be flashier cars here today, but it seems that everybody knows a true hot rod when they see it.
Yeah, good job. Very nice. Well, that's what I like. I don't like the Lexus engine in the rear and all that nonsense. I mean, it looks like a real hot rod. What transmission are you using? It's a 37. Okay, yeah.
And what is it that's bringing so many people over to this one faded yellow little car?
To me, this car has soul. It's soul, to me, in a car cannot be made and it can't be bought. The parts, it's got to be inherent in the parts. People that put this together are no longer alive. What they did 50, 60 years ago, that's what we're doing now.
But when I hold her near, she just slaps my kid. All I wanted was a little ride in baby's hot rod. All I wanted was a little ride.
We're not rat rodders, we're hot rodders. That's our hot rod. And there's nothing else you can call it. Badass hot rod. Bad news.